Welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and I'm super excited. We're going to have one of our panels today with a bunch of great media experts. Just really quickly, I'm going to tell you about Joey Garrity. She's a brand consultant, video podcast content creator, author, and international speaker. And she has over 15 years of experience in the Hollywood entertainment industry, which makes her really valuable for something like this with media today. One of our other guests, our panelist, is Jackie Lapin, and Jackie is just recovering from surgery. And I thank you so much for coming on here today. Over the past 15 years, Jackie Lapin's conscious media relations radio podcast tours have helped over 400 luminaries, leaders, filmmakers, and authors grow their businesses, sell more books, and create viewership. And then, of course, you all know Tracy Hazard, who practically has become the co-host of this show in recent months. She is a seasoned media expert with over 2,600 interviews from articles in Authority Magazine, BuzzFeed, and her Inc. magazine column. And from her multiple top-ranked videocasts and podcasts like The Binge Factor and Feed Your Brand. So let's get going, guys. I think other people are going to jump on as we go along here. So the first thing I want to ask you guys is, what do you see as the most significant trend currently shaping the media industry? Because it seems like things are shifting rapidly. Who wants to go first?
Well, go ahead, Jackie.
No, go, Tracy, you go.
It's getting, honestly, to me, very tired to be talking about AI. But just this morning, USA Today put out the very first media-based search bot onto many of their publications, not just the USA Today. And I think it is going to be a game changer right there. So if you're not thinking about long form content, you're actually making a mistake in the world of AI. You're not having conversations. You're not having long enough. I think it's going to be a mistake. And that search bot is counting on that. So if more and more media is relying on that to disseminate their information, more important for you to understand how you play with that.
Yeah, so that's interesting too. For those of you who don't know, podcast, radio, long form, what you see on TV, those short clips, short form. So you get a lot more information with that. Jackie, you want to go ahead and answer that?
Well, I think, yes, that AI is having a significant impact. I think that people's attention spans are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And for example, when you do social media these days, if you use an AI tool, to chop it down, a podcast into individual little pieces, people are watching those things on their social media. They're commenting, they're responding. They get the highest ratings of all of the content on those, except if some kind of a viral video. And so AI allows you to do things in chunks easily. And what I think is just so amazing for us in media and in podcasting is it makes it easy to do your research. Now, doesn't say that everything is absolutely accurate, but it certainly cuts down the research time. When I am writing articles or for the Historic Traveler or, researching an author for, one of our podcast tours, it is so much easier to go to AI and pull the information rather than having to go and do individual research. It's making a big difference.
Yeah. And on that AI factor as well, we're running those books through, and we can get questions and do other things so much quicker than we used to before. Joey, how about you?
We saw what streaming did to the Hollywood entertainment industry. I mean, it changed everything, right? Just that consumable and being immediate. So where are the brands going to put their cash? Right. And we're hearing about the big channels are selling or closing at some point here, sooner than later. So I'm a huge fan of YouTube. I think that YouTube is the go-to channel, right, for every generation, not just, because we're also getting into the demographic components too. Right. And so I see YouTube just becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger giant out there.
Yeah. And more people, I think that key demographic, that younger demographic is going to YouTube versus ABC, NBC, the bigger news media outlets now, they're consuming that way. So how for you guys, what changes are you making in your social media that are breaking through the noise of media these days?
Yeah. Well, for me, nothing has moved my influence faster than my video podcast and my YouTube channel, right? But what I'm doing with it is I do interview formats, and Juliet knows that. She's been on my show. And I like that because what I'm doing is I'm taking my shows and then I'm sharing them across my social media platforms, but I'm tagging my guest. And this has been a another game changer of growing my online net worth, right? Is getting into their backyards, right? And spotlighting them. And I'm huge into spotlights, and I think spotlighting others, the spotlight comes back on you anyways. So I had to say that the video podcast and I'm a huge fan of like cutting it up and making it into blogs and articles. I love all that, right? But what I really love is what's been a game changer for me is tagging my guest.
Yeah. Tracy, you're the queen of breaking those up into different formats.
Absolutely. Look, I think you should. But if you don't start with the long form first, it's a mistake. To make all the tiny little ones get out of date really fast. It's hard to categorize them. It's hard to keep track of them. You don't have a message. You don't have a focus. You don't have a plan with them. With the if you have a plan for some long form thing, it's going to be better for you in the long run. You're building an asset base that's going to help your business or your message, your mission, your nonprofit, whatever that might be. Start from that. So whether that's articles and books, it's podcasts and video casts, it doesn't really matter what your long form choice is, as long as then you take it and proliferate it into something more from there. But I actually really disagree with Joey about short form. I think that short form is a temporary boost. I think it's kind of like when you joined TikTok and they gave you a bunch of followers because you put your first video up and they wanted to, bait you. I think YouTube's doing the same thing, because what we're not seeing on the other side is, with the exception of celebrities, we are not seeing entrepreneurial podcasts, health and wellness podcasts, video cast versions of them are doing significantly worse than their podcast counterparts. And that's in almost every category except for celebrity. So I just don't think that if you're not attuned, and this is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot recently, is that if your audience, the person you want to reach, your target audience, needs deep dive into something, those shorts are never going to get them there. So putting a match to what they really need as the core of where you start, and then making the shorts to kind of capture those that maybe didn't think that they needed a deep dive into those things, that's a better approach. And so that's what I'm seeing going on here, is that I just don't see the short form actually doing the lead generation that the long form does.
Well, Tracy, just to your point, I don't do short form. I only do long form.
Yes, I just mean that I don't think the short form is the way to go. Like, don't do that. First.
I don't, to be frank with you, I don't really care about clips or anything. That's what I was saying, is I care about the long form video component. But I also think that the interview format is better than the solo format. And we see a lot of solo going on out there, right? But having the interview format, first of all, you're not going to get a more incredible business card than having your own show, right? This is how you create these deep relationships with influencers out there, people you admire, right? But then also tagging them, sharing the shows, not clips. I actually share the actual link, right? Across your social media and tagging them there, right? It's incredible to get in other people's backyards and networks with people already know, like, and trust them.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, if that's your model of business. It is if your relationship is the key reason you're doing your show. But I can tell you from the 800 podcasters that I have currently right now that interview shows are on the serious decline, and for really good reasons. Because the solo shows mean you control your message, meaning it's not getting muddied by somebody else. And because, honestly, all of the authors out there, the people being interviewed, the guest placement agencies, the publicists out there are doing a terrible job of promoting the shows. They don't know how to promote. So if you're going to get on someone's podcast, if you're going to get on somebody's videocast and you do a terrible job of promoting it, then you haven't helped yourself and you haven't helped them. And that's why it's in decline. Because I can do a better job promoting my own show than I can getting someone and nudging someone and nudging a PR firm and getting them to do that for me when it has no redeemable value on the other side of it. That being said, there are cases, there are sections of people where their whole entire business relies around relationship building and networking, and they absolutely need an interview show.
So let's just say that we who do the podcast tours, we actually insist that our clients do the promotion when they're on somebody's show. It's
you need to be trained by Jackie, please.
It's their responsibility, and it's in their best interest to do the co-promotion so that everybody gets the response. And I will tell you, because I have another business, The Historic Traveler, which is a destination for people who love history, travel, and historic novels. That site, when I am on other people's podcasts and I promote, they get the biggest number of clicks than almost any of the things that I post. So yes, I mean, you could do it yourself and have your own podcast or be on other people's podcasts, but play full out.
Mm-hmm. And I do both, except that I don't like the solo episodes. I prefer, like Joey talks about, tagging other people and highlighting them because it is a real relationship builder. So I think it just depends on your personality and which way you want to go with that. So, I think this is really tough for a lot of people. What's your approach to balancing authenticity with brand message in your content? Because so many people want to I call them like the invisible author. I want to be famous, but I don't want anybody to see me. So how do you balance all that?
Well, ghost authors, not ghost writers.
When they come to us, they're ready to be seen. And so I really believe that when people are putting out a book, which is when most people come to us, but not exclusively. When people are putting out a book, they have a message to deliver and they really want to deliver it. Now, are they scared? Are they intimidated by the process? They may be. But one of the things that we have them do, I write the media kit as well as the pitch letter. And one of the things that they do is supply me with a list of 20 questions. Now, those 20 questions, 90% of the hosts will actually use. So if somebody's a little bit intimidated about getting on the air and what questions they might have, if the hosts are using their questions, by the time they've done 3 or 4 of them, they're so practiced, they've got it down, they know how to deliver the message that it gives them a comfort level. And by the way, it also makes them more speaker ready when they're ready to step onto the real stage, the physical stage, because they've done enough podcasts and they know their stuff. So I would highly recommend preparing the questions in advance and then dealing with the few outlanders who want to just hit you with unusual questions. But by then you've got your confidence up.
Yeah, I agree. Practice, Jackie. Yeah,
you panelists here
authenticity doesn't come easy.
You panelists will get a kick out of this. I asked someone who was going to be on my podcast for a few questions the other day, so I knew where she wanted to take the conversation. She literally sent me an outline of question, answer. This is what you will say. This is what I will say. I got on and I was literally like, I so appreciate this, but I'm going to ask you what I want to ask you. I don't do scripted like that because I want us to all be natural and fun. Anybody else want to take a bite at that question?
Well, I think I always encourage authors or anyone that's about to launch something new, product, service, to really start sharing a year before it drops. right? Coming up with clever ways of just sharing about your journey and share about the ups and the downs. I blog every single week, and that's really how I've launched two of my books is, fleshing out my ideas. But I talk about my ups and my downs. And I think that authenticity of letting other people know that they're not alone, right? Specifically for authors, because when you put something down virtually or on paper, it is, you really are exposing your spirit and your soul, right? And it can be intimidated. I know with my second book, because my second book was a big stretch for me because it was an inner game book, and I was really sharing about things that happened to me down in the Hollywood entertainment business, right? And yet it took a lot of courage for me to drop that book. But you know how I really did it is I started marketing it and sharing about it a year before. So it also made me accountable.
Yeah, that platform building is important, and people don't realize that till they actually release their book and they realize it's not as easy as everyone makes it out to be in the ads. Tracy?
Yeah.
You're always authentic. Tell us about it.
I mean, it comes with the fact that you just build a show, build a way. I mean, when I was writing for Inc. magazine, I had to write 6 articles a month, and it got to be a lot more than you think. It sounds like not a lot until you have to sit down and write 6 articles and research 6 articles and figure out the topics for 6 articles and title 6 articles. And, like it just gets to be a whole lot after a while. So you get to the point where you say, I cannot be inauthentic. I can't be writing about something I don't know about. I can't be writing about people I don't actually talk to. And so when you get yourself into a place of whatever it is you're going to produce, and you can do that in a way that doesn't require loads and loads of research and preparation, unlike writing a book, which is very different, then you don't have a choice. We get busy. We're going to have to do something improv. And when we do something improv, we live in our authenticity. There's just no other way for it. Every single week, I prepare our coaching call topic. I prepare it up ahead of time. Sometimes I prepare a month ahead of time. Right now, I'm like a day ahead of time. So, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow until after we get done with this call, but I'll figure it out. And I prepare enough to know this is something we can really talk about. It's timely, it's important. And then we don't do anything else. Tom and I get on the air and talk to each other, and Tom's my partner and husband. And we just talk to each other because we know we can discuss the subject. We understand our clients. You understand your audience. You're an expert in your topic, or you wouldn't write a book about it. You need to just give yourself a break and live in that authenticity. Not everything needs to be a perfectly crafted word. It is okay for you to have a viewpoint, for you to say, I don't really know, but you're giving me something to think about. It's okay to be, unsure. It's okay to be wrong. And that's something that we don't always accept, but that's part of authenticity.
Mm-hmm. And also okay to bear your failures.
Exactly.
Share what you've gone through. People really appreciate that. They see themselves in you.
Yeah. There's so many, I don't know, which charlatans out there. Like, I'm going to build your audience to 100,000 in 90 days. And then there are people who are truthful about it. Like, I've crashed and burned so many times that you wouldn't even recognize my efforts. And that's what most of us really do. It's not as easy as they make out. And I think it's your authenticity depends on you telling the audience that this is going to be hard for you to build on that. So, what challenges do you guys face in responding to the rapid changes in audience behavior? Because I think for the last 10 years, we have a marketing, we have marketing tactics we use, and, 9 to 18 months later, they don't work anymore. And now with AI, it seems like it's transitioning even more rapidly. So what are you doing to overcome that?
Well, from our standpoint, and when you're doing podcast tours, Deliverability is a big issue, getting to your audience, because the various different, Google, Gmail and Yahoo and all of these are making it harder and harder. I just heard that Infusionsoft says that if your audience, your own list hasn't been active in the last 18 months, they're going to take them off your list. And that is just not fair to you. I mean, I just had a client podcast tour come in from somebody who's been on my list for 5 years, and I haven't heard from until then. So you really, you have to figure out a way to pair your list and make sure that your list gets to the right people. Do everything you have to do to clean up, comply, make it work. We use Go High Level, which is helping a lot. So it's not so much the audience is getting to the people you need to get to build your audience, to attract the people that you need. So that's been our issue. I think that, yes, people are really interested in what is hot, what's new, because they are searching for issues or problems to solve. They have got problems to solve because of the changing climate. And so they're always looking for new solutions.
Yeah. I use Go High Level as well. Tracy, Joey, what do you guys use?
I use a combination of Rasa, which is our newsletter, which does do a weekly, and it's very low lift on my part. And we have a 50% open rate on regular and that's for our entire client base plus whoever signs up.
And that's an AI newsletter, correct?
It is. It's an AI newsletter, but it's carefully curated with real content, not like the AI doesn't choose the content that it can serve up. It just, if Juliet likes articles about authors, then it's going to serve Juliet more authors. And if, Jackie likes articles about history, she's going to get more articles about history, but it only comes from the sources that you personally curate. So we only curate podcast lists. We curate where we know the humans created the content. So like that makes a difference, I think. And but so we use that. They have an email program that we're in a beta on, and it's working very well, which is action-based. So in other words, if somebody opens something, and it shows that they're like very interested in learning about YouTube Shorts, for instance, right at this moment in time, we can serve them up something more long form. And then if they go to that long form, then we can say, would you like to be introduced to our YouTube expert? And so it can continue on from there. Rasa, RASA, yeah, and .io. Great company. And the newsletter is so easy to set up. And that keeps my list nurtured, and I have never had a problem getting it delivered. But I was just saying before we started this panel to Jackie that I have this incredibly hard time. I have clients who pay us thousands of dollars, and I can't get them to open a single email. I can't get them to help themselves. I can't get any of that. So we look for ways to interrupt and get at the captive audience we have. So we have a portal, you have to sign in and submit your episodes. If we can interrupt them there and deliver them a message, deliver them a case study, deliver them something of importance in a place where they're a captive audience, where they must go to log in, to do something, to take an action, that's the best way today. And we're always looking for those. I really find that the list building is falling off. And so while we do have that, we use a whole bunch of different tools for it. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of podcasters on our lists, but none of them really lead us the right clients for the long tail stuff we want to do. You can get short hits from them. You can get $20 from them, $7 from them. But to get them into becoming consistent and good podcasters long-term, that's not the right format for it. And so we're always looking for something else where we can capture their attention for the right type of people. And that involves a lot more nurturing, a lot more lengthy process. And you've got to have a system and process that will match that. It's not the easiest thing. The easiest thing, AI is easy. But there's a reason its percentage and open rate is so low, because us humans recognize that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Joey, what about you?
I just feel that I've never been a big fan of trends. So I follow my own gut. I'm in my business because I love people, and I'm about community build out girl. I still literally, I mean, I just launched a network here in the Bay Area with two other super connectors. And still that one-to-one, the reach out, right? The emotional connection, it matters to me. And so I look for that all the time, right? I'll fly in, I just flew into Dallas for a big network. Because that emotional connection with people goes a long way. And I feel that the trends, a lot of them are smoke and mirrors, right? And I feel like people have gotten really, really sharp out there. And it's not easy to fool people. And to your point, Juliet, earlier, you were talking about when people are doing these vast, oh, I'll help you get, I'll fill your room with 100,000 people and all that crazy. I feel like we're so far past that. And I personally think if any trend which has been hot is going to stick, it's going to be the niche.
Yeah.
Know your niche, build that community out, let them know that you're integrity based, who you are, be authentic, share your journey, right? Have touch points with them and, and actually connect with them like a human being, like whether it's pick up the phone, have a virtual coffee, see each other in person, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that super connector thing, all four of us are super connectors. That's exactly what we do to build audiences. And the other thing I wanted to add about that was that not only being a super connector, but really avoiding those trends. Tracy and I were on part of a summit in 2020. You probably remember Scott Carson's. And there was a woman on Sunday who did that whole webinar thing that I've got this bonus and I've got that bonus and the whole package is $2,000, but it's worth 40. And we were texting each other going, do people still do this? Like, does anybody believe this? And I think
does
that
this work? Like,
I know that this is so 2017, if we're really being snotty. We were actually texting each other about, oh my God, I can't believe she's doing that.
And obviously, Juliet and I are slightly snotty about it, a little snobbish. I so agree with you, Joey. Like, this is like so. When somebody comes in, flash in the pan, does a bunch of stuff, and then says, Ed, I've got the course for it, and then they're not using it anymore, they just scammed you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real. It's not sustainable. It's not going to work. I loved the fact that I came into podcasting in 2014, which wasn't the earliest, but it was early enough that I could see the potential and been here long enough to be able to keep finding where its value is. And it hasn't disappointed me. It's a sustainable media type. Writing hasn't disappointed me. Like, I still write articles. I mean, people are still reading out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys. What skills do you look for in new hires who want to succeed in media today? Because I know all of us have staff. So who wants to go first on that? Jackie?
Writing, because it's a talent that is diminished significantly in the years that I've been in the business. You need to have somebody that actually can write, especially in my end of the business. But communication is so critical. And the fact is that, great, if you can do social media, that's wonderful. That's a great skill to have. But you still need to know how to write and communicate with people. So I think that that's a vital piece of information when you're looking for somebody. It also tells you how well they think, because if they write well, they think well. And I think that that's really important. And today, I have to admit, much as, I'm still old school, social media, having a good social media skill set is really important, because you have to be able to deliver your content in multiple ways, whether it's writing, whether it's podcasting, or some video audio version, and also on social media. Social media may not sell as well in some ways as some of the other tools, immediate sell, I should say, but it still is critical in building your platform, your awareness, and connecting with the people that ultimately will buy from you at some point. So those are the skills I think that are most important.
Tracy, you have a team of what, 60 now?
50 full-time and then like 25 freelancers. So we bring them in for whatever projects we need. And I've had as big as 100 at some point. So yeah, we do a lot of hiring. I think the biggest thing that we look for, because, most of the work that we have done is production work. So it's delivery and on time kind of stuff. And that's integrity. Can you do what you say you're going to do? And can you do it on time? And if you can't, that's when communication comes in. And this is the biggest problem that I see, an inability to communicate when you're not going to meet your deadlines, when you don't have it all together, when you have a question, inability to ask those questions. That's the kind of communication we don't get often. And when I find someone who can communicate like that, who says, hey, I've been working on this project you gave me, and now I've hit a roadblock and I don't know what to do. Can we have a meeting? I'm like, I'm all there. But the ones who sit back and say, oh my gosh, I can't bother Tracy. I'm just going to pretend like this isn't happening. And then they miss their deadline. That's a problem, right? And I see that a lot with my interns when I bring in US interns, and that big problem. They do not want to ask questions. And if you're not going to ask the questions, you're not going to be able to complete the jobs that are around today. You can't know everything. AI is usually wrong. So you've got to ask the good questions of someone. And if you're not willing to go out there and do that, I think that's a skill set that you better strengthen if you want the job, if you want to keep the job.
You mentioned US. Do you think our schools are not teaching people how to be proactive? I mean, that's coming from somewhere, and that's probably the wrong question. We're going to get into a huge debate here that we should. Why
I don't. Proactive? I don't think it's that at all. I think it's this. I think it's a little bit of a social media thing, in that you're just sitting out there and you're presenting yourself as the expert in everything and the authority in everything, and so they don't think that. And especially when you're at short form and not long form, right, where the interviews happen, where where a lot of good questioning comes. So I don't know. I kicked my daughter into not the debate group, the mock trial group, and she's loving it. And it's really good because it's teaching that interrogation kind of model of things. She also is doing something called FORCE, which is forensic science, and it goes across history, English, and science. And so it's looking at it all from a psychological perspective and from, human behavior and other things. So I think there are good programs out there. It's just a matter of, if you don't set that tone of the value of what you expect. But think about most teenagers. What do? They go to, Chipotle. They go to work at a job that says, here's how you do it our way, plug and play.
Yeah.
There's no critical thinking in that process. And so when you throw them into a job that requires critical thinking, they flounder for a little while, and you got to take them and you got to grasp them, and you've got to be willing to train that. And I find too often somebody who wants to bring in an intern or bring in, temporary workers don't provide that environment to make that happen. And it's a mistake because they don't come with it.
Yeah, it's something that you definitely have to learn. Joey, how about you and your team?
I look for creative thinkers. I want people to think outside the box. I want people to really stretch, right? And people that are too rigid don't work well for me, because I feel like we go up against a wall a lot when it doesn't have to be there, really. I like that flow. And I really, really, really honor that everyone respects each other.
Yeah, those are good traits. I'm working with a scaling coach right now, and I will be on the next Frozen on Broadway, because the constant from him is let it go, let it go, let it go, let them do it their way. And I'm really experiencing how difficult that is.
Well, Julia, to flip the tables, because I always ask you questions. Did he tell you to hire your weakness?
Did he tell me to hire my weakness? No, he didn't.
That is one of the things that I think most people don't. If you're such a beautiful systems organization person, maybe you need to hire a creative thinker, right?
Right.
Yeah, it will be difficult to manage because you won't understand them, but they add beauty to your business. They add things that you didn't imagine. I mean, look, the reason why we're such good friends is we are actually very opposite thinkers.
Yeah.
And that's but I appreciate the beauty in who you are and what you do and what you bring to the conversation. So if you can find that in someone especially in your senior staff, like as you get, someone who's collaborating with you and working with you, if they don't think exactly like you, you're going to have a better outcome.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I'm seeing really great outcomes from it. Just every time it's like, okay, do it your way. It's effective, but it's not my way. But that's probably, I'm a control freak.
I think the other thing that's really important is you need to hire people that are problem solvers. You
Yes.
can't be solving all of the problems.
Yes.
You need to have people that that'll take initiative, that'll come to you and say, "Can we do this?" Or "What if we did this?" Or "I'm stuck here. What do you think? Is this a solution?" And like you said, Tracy, they may come to you with the question, but a lot of times they come to you with the answer and they want your approval. And that's the kind of person that I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if any of you who are looking for a VA career, listen to all of this because this could be really pivotal in that. So for you guys, what role do your podcast and audio content play in your overall media strategy? How are you using it?
Well, obviously for us, it's like the anchor, because if we didn't do what we were coaching our clients to do, it would be a huge mistake. And there are actually a lot of producers and clients who don't practice their own podcast. They don't produce their own show, and yet they have all these clients. I think it's a mistake because it's really hard to understand what's going on in the podcasting world or the video casting world or the author world if you're not out there being an author yourself or publishing every single day a new novel for a client. It's just not working if you're not actively participating in the thing that you're selling, right? So for us to make it the anchor is really extremely important, and it's time for a shift. And so right now we're actually making a significant shift to the way that everything and the interesting part is we're going back to what we did at the very beginning, which is still the basis for everything that we do. We're going back to the very beginning, which is much more of that keyword strategy. That's actually how we started our first podcast, was with this keyword strategy. And we're actually coming back to that again. And that has to do with the fact that we're trying to fill in the gaps of what's working in search engines, what's working with the AI, what's giving it the basis in the way that people are asking for information. And so where it used to be a keyword phrase, podcast monetization tips, that would be like what the keyword phrase is. It would be, how do I monetize my podcast at 5 episodes?
Mhm.
That's the
Good luck
difference
with
now,
that.
right? Like it's micro in terms of like the focus of it, but it's a question. And that's because that's how we ask our AI. That's how we ask our voice bot. That's how we ask questions now. And so the answers need to be readily and easily available.
Yeah. Joey or Jackie?
Well, I'm a very creative person, and I've been building my brand to be its own studio so I can lend my influence to others. And the way I've approached it is that everything's a waterfall into the other divisions so that there's flow. And so, of course, my video podcasts they lead the divisions. However, they flow, they waterfall into they help to waterfall everything back, right? I also use it 100% as a business card. I really do, right? To create these relationships out there and this community build out there. And so, and at the heartbeat of my brand, it's that I feel strongly that everyone needs to build their own influence, right? We have a freedom flag. You don't have to ask permission, right? And so using it, whether it's the video podcast or, becoming an author, which I highly recommend, There's been two tipping points in my career. One has been becoming an author, a two-time author, and then launching my YouTube channel, becoming a video podcast content creator.
Yeah, nice. Jackie?
So I basically have two brands. And when I am talking about the conscious media relations on our podcast tour, when I do those interviews, I share bits and pieces from those interviews with our community on a regular basis with the permission of the podcaster. And that gets a lot of attention. And we are on multiple platforms. And then with the Historic Traveler, I write articles. We do a magazine. We do a Hot 25 historic novel list every month. We've always got stuff going on, and we're turning that into constant social media. And whether that's reels on all the different platforms, our YouTube is just, expanding massively. But it's also, still photos, and my beautiful still photos get a lot of attention. It's also when we talk about the reviews on the new hot historic novels. We are constantly going out. We actually put out something about four to five times a week, so that we're constantly telling people. Now, I have two separate groups of social media. I have social media for the Historic Traveler. I have social media for me personally on LinkedIn and Facebook. And so we split the messages, but we are very busy delivering that. And we're using the content that we create to be the basis of what we're telling people about, and then bringing them back to the site to see or explore the bigger, fuller content that gets their attention. And so, I've never been this active on social media before. And we're really seeing the results of the attention. We're up to about, 2,000 people a week to the Historic Traveler. And that's
you're
great.
actually human on social media, which is so few nowadays. So that's, I think, why I've checked yours out, Jackie. You do a great job. But you're real, where everything else still feels very fake out there. And it feels forced. Even, and I'm all for having a team do stuff. But when it starts from what you really think and how you really care, the passion is showing through your Historic Traveler. Like it's showing.
One of the fun things that we've done, and that people are just loving, I mean, it gets our highest rating, is I went and I put my photo using AI into the pictures of 30 of the top women in history. And so every Friday we have a little, who am I this time? And it's a little video reel. And people love it. They're guessing who I am. There I am with the face of, Madame Curie or, Marie Antoinette. It's really been a lot of fun. But it's right. I mean, that's me. That's what I love. I love history.
That's great. Okay, I want to open it. Do you guys have any questions for these guys? We would probably take about 5 minutes of questions, and then we need to wrap it up because they have other calls. So, anybody? Nobody. Okay.
I do.
Oh,
It's Cynthia.
Hi.
So I know you're talking about YouTube quite a bit, and I had seen an article about YouTube and the format of video where you're editing to make things really succinct and beautiful, versus just a talk, a real chat where you're just talking to the camera, no edits. I forget the term for that. But anyway, I just wanted to get your opinion of whether you've seen that or not, the difference in reviews and the acceptability and the likability of either of those two platforms.
So for us, I'm a big fan of trying to do the YouTube live stream model at first, because it gives you a sense of how YouTube works. It's all off the cuff, so there's no editing, nothing new to learn if you're doing it yourself, and nothing complicated to pay for. Right? It is what it is. You went live, and if you made a mistake on air, it's more acceptable. So you kind of let yourself off the hook, but your audience does too. Mm-hmm. And the more important thing is, can you get somebody to watch your video? Because if you're going to spend the time, spend the effort, spend the money to edit, you better drive an audience to it. And so try that first. Try the lowest lift thing that you can do to see if YouTube has the people that you want to reach on it. And can you get them to come to those live streams, even if it's after the fact to watch them already recorded, doesn't matter. But if you can get them to come to your channel, subscribe to your channel, watch those videos, then you're onto something. Now you can decide, would my audience want it if I did more editing? Go to Fiverr, have a couple of videos edited that you already created, re-air them, and see what happens with that. So those are my kind of model is if you can't get them there, then don't spend the time and money.
Okay.
So the experience that I'm seeing the most success with is we're doing short reels. But here's what I heard from one of the fellows who interviewed me. He does the full interview, then he cuts down little pieces of it and offers it as reels. And the reels drive people back to the bigger interview. Mm-hmm. And you could see the numbers because this interview that I did, I think has the biggest response that I've ever done. It was like one of my first. And they had 12,000 people that watched this video because he was promoting it using the short reels and then boosting the reels that drove people back to the full length interview. So I would recommend that if you want to have the full content, also cut it down. I think I'm trying to think of the AI.
Use Opus.pro. I just stuck it in the chat.
Opus will do that. Yeah. Opus will cut it down to short clips. Use that to use the reel to promote the longer ones.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what I do. That's my strategy that we do every week. We take the podcast that goes up into poditize for that long form, and then we cut it down into short reels and make those into social media posts that connect back to the bigger one.
There's some new tools in beta in YouTube to be able to do it directly from YouTube, like you can share a section, but it's limited in what you can do. And I think Opus does just a really easy job of finding the clip for you and, presenting your options. And all you got to do is fix the caption and you're done. So, and you can even share straight from YouTube or straight to YouTube or straight to TikTok or whatever you have connected up. You can share straight from Opus now.
Yeah. And Opus actually has what you're speaking, the script on it while you're speaking it. So if they're not listening to it and they're just scrolling, the content may bring them in as opposed to just seeing you there.
Yeah. We use Cast Magic as well. We use Opus and Cast Magic because Cast Magic helps us write our headlines. It helps us write our newsletters, all that sort of thing. We can take that right off of the transcription. Anybody else with a question? Oh, Joey, did you want to?
No, I don't. I personally don't believe in editing the videos.
Yeah, I don't either.
I feel that we're the new reality real stars out there.
I like that.
As part of my system and my teaching.
It's less work. It's better.
What I realized when I first jumped into this arena is it was burning people out. They weren't getting their videos out fast enough, right? We're talking content is fast and furious, right? So what I teach in my system to my video podcast content creators is we do bumper videos. So that way you have your intro and your exit, and then it doubles at your podcast right off the bat when you download it. So that's what's worked for us. I do feel like we have to be real. I tell people all the time, I said, if an airplane lands on your home, don't cut it out. Like making mistakes on your show will do better for you. People want real, right? They don't want the newscaster approach. That's over and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more questions before we bug out here? All right. Thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Jackie and Tracy and Joey. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you.